We joke about how many different ways Svalbard is supposed to kill you.
Yeah.
But
are we going to encounter any of those ways today?
Probably not, no. But we know where to send what's left of you, your next of kin details.
My name is David Schechter.
It's quite a deal.
And I'm your guide on a journey to see how we're changing the Earth.
Definitely seeing changes.
And how the Earth is changing us.
That's amazing.
This is On the Dive. If you fly 4,500 miles over the Atlantic, coming up just shy of the North Pole, you're in Svalbard, Norway. In a place this far north, where polar bears outnumber people, it's illegal to even leave town without a rifle.
We're in bear country.
When you think of extreme warming, this is probably not the picture you have in your head.
But Svalbard is actually the fastest warming place on Earth.
Our world is melting up in the Arctic.
The air and the sea are heating up quick, and the massive glaciers melt almost before your eyes. At this point, you might be thinking, that doesn't sound great, but isn't that somebody else's problem?
Anything you will do in America will affect what goes on. We get the consequences of what you're doing there.
So we came here to find out why the people up here like to say,
what happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic.
Svalbard is a series of islands. Longyearbyen, population 2,500, is the biggest community on Svalbard. They call it the northernmost community in the world, home to the northernmost pub, the northernmost cafe, and the northernmost newspaper. Lena Nagel Ylvasaker is the editor of the Svalbard Post.
Can you tell me what makes this place unique?
Oh, that's
there's probably a lot of things.
There's a lot of things. So with nature, it is that you can just walk up from your house and you can go straight up to a mountain, or you can be like in the middle of the wild nature in no time. And it's beautiful, it's changing all the time. And my children, they like it here. We have a lot of time together, and I really appreciate that.
While winter here is very cold, when it snows, it's usually light snow. But in January 2015, Lena remembers a major storm hammered the island with blinding wind and snow. In spots, more than 16 feet fell in 12 hours. These rare conditions triggered an avalanche, the first one to ever do serious damage to Longyearbyen. Homes were ripped off their foundations and left in a pile. 2 people died. One of them was a young girl.
And that made a huge impact on me. I knew the little girl, she went to kindergarten with my daughter, so it was really close and hard to understand really that it happened.
2 years later, they were hit with another avalanche. As a journalist, Lena felt compelled to explore the extreme forces jeopardizing the safety and security of her town. Then she wrote about what she found.
You've been on a journey as a journalist, right?
Because you have to understand the whole picture. And I was a bit embarrassed as a journalist when I wrote about climate change, because I knew that I didn't understand the full picture. What's happening to the sea and the ice? How is it connected to the atmosphere? Why do we get all this snow?
One thing Lena learned is that winter is the fastest warming season in Svalbard and in most places, including the US. You might not have noticed, but since 1975, winter in Atlanta is 6.5 degrees warmer, New Orleans 6.1, Philadelphia 5.7. On average, US winters today are 3.7 degrees warmer than they used to be. Now compare that to 13.6 degrees in Svalbard, making it a kind of canary in the coal mine.
How is what is happening here in Svalbard important to people other places in the world? And I learned that it's actually physically very important, because when the Arctic warms, then the weather system changes, so that there will be more extreme weather other places too. We have avalanches and landslides. Other places it will be flood, droughts and fires. We will have more extreme weather all over the globe, and that I think we're not mentally or physically prepared yet. So we have to kind of understand where we are living, the dangers where we are, and try to act on it and make good plans for the future. This is a book about how I personally experienced climate change and about Longyearbyen, where efforts are being made to keep natural hazards at bay. But is it possible to protect the town completely from the avalanches, floods and extreme conditions that are forecasted to increase? In the face of all this, should I stay here with my family?
So we are actually now walking where this 11 houses were standing in this area.
The houses were right here.
Where we're standing now.
Martin in Drayton is telling me the story of Svalbard is not only about problems, it's also a showcase for solutions. And he is leading the effort to protect the community from the threat of future avalanches. These before and after pictures are from the fatal avalanche.
And this is how it looks.
Oh my gosh.
So there were the
Completely
houses. Yeah, you see?
wiped away.
The climate profile says that snow avalanches is our major problem the coming 10-20 years.
Martin is saying the risk of an avalanche has always been highest in the spring, but as Svalbard warms, now they can happen at other times of the year.
It's the uncertainty. You don't know.
To protect the town, Norway spent $25 million to build several layers of protection. At the bottom of the mountain, there's this dam to stop tumbling snow. And up on the mountain, those lines, those are avalanche fences. It's so steep up here, it's a little hard to walk, but these fences are designed to hold the snow in place.
They're like taking these sections, using helicopter, load them up.
The helicopter brings it in here.
Yeah, brings it in, and then they like mount it.
For even more protection, Martin wondered if there was a way to use technology to create an early warning system that would give people time to evacuate.
So if we have better tools to do forecasting, then we could evacuate and like move people out of harm's way.
Martin helped develop this snow depth sensor. It bounces a beam off the snow to measure how deep it is and sends back hundreds of measurements a day. On a single battery, these devices can last for up to 10 years and they cost just $600.
And the cost is so low that many can use it.
Martin says it's a work in progress, but they are getting better at forecasting avalanches. Meanwhile, the technology has already been shared with others in mainland Norway, and he hopes has the potential to help in the US and other places around the world.
Avalanche safety and like snow management is a big industry. It's everything from like using a snowplow to open roads and railroads. You have large ski resorts. So everyone working with or on snow or like have to handle snow, they are interested in avalanche danger if you are in like exposed areas.
Seeing the extent of the fences and the dam and all these ideas that they're using to protect the community, it really makes you realize there is so much change going on. He's saying almost on a daily basis that they have to develop all these new ideas and put them into place in order to protect this community. If you didn't think we were at the end of the world, well, we're going to go a little bit farther now.
For this flight, you can't just buy a ticket. first you have to be invited. Then it's a 25-minute hop over fields of glaciers to the Ny-Ålesund Research Station, just 700 miles from the North Pole.
This place to me feels a little like summer camp, but in the winter, but for scientists.
Countries from all around the world send all kinds of researchers here to study the high Arctic and how it's changing. Along with support staff, they all live together, work together, and eat all their meals together.
Today for lunch, we're gonna make some pizza rolls. And we are also in the beginning of cutting for tacos.
It's a tradition. After the boat has arrived, we always have taco the first Friday. And then, yeah, everybody's happy.
Before the boat comes, then we don't have any like fresh veggies. So then we have to use like frozen stuff or, yeah, use what we have.
All right, everybody ready?
Yeah! We have a taco run today.
All right, ready, set, go!
You run 3 kilometers around the town and then you come back for tacos.
Look, up here you gotta get excited for something. And the arrival of fresh food is greeted with a brisk, almost 2-mile run in freezing temperatures by the scientists and people that work here. Hey! This is the Taco 3,000 meter race.
The winner is coming.
This is one crazy tradition.
Plus, the winner gets this sweet homemade victory belt.
It's really nice one day when you see how happy people get of the food you make. People really appreciate the food up here.
What's up with the tacos?
I can't answer that question. You'll have to ask. When did Norway suddenly become interested in tacos?
That's Jack Kohler. He's an American glaciologist who's worked in Norway for 30 years.
When did you first arrive, Elizabeth?
Here. We came in '96 first time.
And that's his wife, Elizabeth. She's Swedish, and she's also a glaciologist.
Our son was a year old.
So you actually had your son here with you?
Yeah.
That first year?
Yeah, because I was still breastfeeding.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. So every time I passed that polar bear there in the entrance, I think about William, because he was terrified.
He would cringe like this way when he passed him.
Good memory.
My wife and I both work at the Polar Institute, both as glaciologists. So we've done field work together a bunch of times.
So I listen to him, but of course I can come with suggestion if it's completely,
Suggestion. This is a stupid idea.
It might look comfortable up here, but these folks, they put in some hard work.
I never set foot on a glacier before I started my degree in geology, and it was by accident that I found myself on a glacier, hired for a summer to go and be a field assistant.
And you got hooked?
And I got hooked, yeah.
On the boat now with Jack and crew, heading out to the face of the glacier to see how it's changed.
Jack works for the Norwegian Polar Institute, a government agency that studies and monitors the Arctic. In the water, there's lots of ice that's broken off from the glacier. Great for lounging, but it does make it hard to get close to the front.
I can say that this is about where the front of the glacier was in 1996, first time I came here.
Jack's been studying this glacier for 27 years and he knows it really well.
And now the glacier front is, as you can see, quite far away, almost 4 kilometers distant. 2.5 miles, the American audience.
Well, we're still 2.5 miles.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel that far away.
No, but it's very hard to tell the scale of things out here.
It's difficult to judge scale because the glacier is so massive. At the front, it's as tall as a 15-story building and almost 2 miles wide. Jack marks the front of the glacier every year. Here's where it is now, and we are about here. But in 1985, the glacier front would have actually been behind us. In the past 2 years, the glacier has gone from here in 2021 to here in 2022, and now to here in 2023. What's lost is like 8 football fields. And researchers also went back to the site of old photographs to see what's changed.
It's dramatic to see the changes from year to year.
And when Jack and his colleagues modeled future conditions, they concluded by 2100, the glaciers will be losing their ice twice as fast as they are now.
So what I really try to communicate to people is that a drop of water that melts in Svalbard doesn't disappear off the face of the planet. It goes to the ocean, and the ocean covers the whole planet. And so when we melt ice in the Arctic, it goes to sea level rise.
42% of sea level rise comes from warming ocean water, which expands as it warms. 21% comes from melting glaciers around the world, 23% from melting ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica. What does that mean in the US? Well, sea level rise projections over the next 30 years anticipate 10 to 14 inches of rise on the East Coast, 14 to 18 on the Gulf Coast, and 4 to 8 inches on the West Coast.
What happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic. That sea level rise is going to impact everywhere. If you live in Florida, you're seeing the effect of sea level rise already. There's plenty of pictures of very high tides, which are not caused by any storms or anything. It's just a daily occurrence. And this is because sea level is inexorably rising, and glaciers are contributing very significantly to that.
Have you seen this thing? So we're headed up this mountain. There's an observatory up there, and there's only one way up. Can I give you that? Yeah, so we're on this cable car that fits 4 people. It's pretty snug. Comfortable inside though, I gotta say. Has anyone ever gotten stuck on this thing?
Yeah.
I don't like that response.
If you're a criminal mastermind and you're in the market to upgrade your evil lair, this piece of mountaintop real estate might be for you. This is the Zeppelin Observatory.
Can you say your name so I pronounce your name correctly?
Oh, when I was in the States, everyone called me Hoover.
That's not your name though.
No, my name is Ove.
Ove Hermansen is a senior scientist with the Norwegian Institute for Air Research.
This is really like very science fiction looking.
This is a CO2 signal, this is the methane signal.
These are minute by minute readings?
These are 5 seconds by 5 seconds.
Outside, this tower pulls in air. Inside, they sample it for all kinds of pollutants that are in our atmosphere. Uwe is telling me the equipment is super sensitive.
If you have these old fillings in your teeth, we'll see it on the mercury measurements.
Wait, say that again? So like if I go outside and I've got mercury in one of my fillings, it'll pick up outside?
If it's no wind, you will pick it up, and then you have to flag this out.
Pretty sensitive.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. Yeah. This is why we're here.
They coordinate with a network of observatories around the world. Together, they analyze the levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. This sample of Svalbard air will be sent to Boulder, Colorado for analysis.
We're all the way almost to the North Pole. Why do you have to send samples to Colorado?
Because we want to see that we are measuring on the same scale.
And are you all measuring the same thing? Everybody checks out?
Yes, it looks like we are.
This is what they're seeing. Carbon dioxide is the #1 greenhouse gas. Since the 80s, it's gone up 50% above pre-industrial levels. The #2 gas is methane. It's up 165%. These emissions come from our cars, our factories, and from producing oil and gas, and they are the reason our climate is changing.
You've been here such a long time and you come out here and you look at what's happened with your own eyes.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Air pollution doesn't see any borders. The increasing levels of CO2 are caused by emissions in Norway, in Europe, in China, in the US, everywhere. Of course you can get sad and frustrated, but then you have to think about all the positive things that are happening. And there's still a chance to turn this around.
During our visit, people around the world were protesting against climate change. At the research station, scientists and staff joined in.
I'll say a few words to today's climate strike. In Ålesund, scientists and all support staff have facilitated climate research, and we've been here for a while and deliver hard numbers. The planet is warming fast. The Arctic is warming faster than any other place. Sea ice in winter barely exists anymore in the fjord here, and some glaciers have retreated for several kilometers in the last 50 years. We need to be heard. And as we are far away from civilization, and as kind or clever words haven't been helping so much yet, we need to make noise. So let's make some noise.
I don't want to brag, but they finally let me carry the rifle. Got clear skies. Jack's gonna helicopter us out to a glacier and show us how he measures the loss of the ice.
Some days you're grinding it out in the office, and others you're buzzing around in a Norwegian Coast Guard helicopter and landing on a glacier.
This just goes endlessly this way, and we're on the river of ice, we're on the glacier.
When the ice was at its peak at the end of winter, Jack drove a series of stakes deep into the ice. Now, 6 months later, after the summer melt, we're measuring how much of the stake is exposed.
In April, the ice surface would have been around here. So
Really?
that much ice is melted during the summer.
Really?
Yeah.
So this was
buried in ice.
Bored into the ice.
Yeah.
And now it's all exposed.
And now it's exposed.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, all glaciers lose their ice somehow. And as long as the loss is equal to what's going in at the top, then the geometry of the glacier will remain unchanged.
But that's not happening. Jack is saying not only is the glacier retreating at the front, but his measurements show it's also not building up enough new ice miles further up where the glacier begins.
The problem is when there's less winter precipitation up there, and then that large amount of melting means that there's a overall loss. Then the glacier thins and retreats.
And your records are showing that it's just going down.
This one is thinning overall.
What's the connection between your work and climate change?
Well, we're documenting the effect of the climate change locally here, of course, but I have colleagues all over the globe who are doing similar things, and they're all seeing the same thing. It's warmer, there's more melt, there's no compensating increase in precipitation. The winter snow season is shrinking because of the increase in temperature.
The calculations that he's making are really basic. Water out and then no sort of new ice in means that these glaciers are disappearing, and that's what he's measuring. And it's happening fast up here, really fast. To be a witness to all this is, I think, quite humbling. My hand is so cold now. Oh, can't feel it at all. New rule, all coffee shops must have Huskies.
Since 1979, scientists have used satellite images to measure the massive amount of sea ice in the Arctic. From then until now, the ice cover has shrunk by 32%. In Svalbard, they have deep ocean inlets, they're called fjords, and their winter ice has mostly vanished.
When I was here in the early 2000s, the fjord out here froze. It doesn't anymore.
Anna Schweblam is a meteorologist at the University Center in Longyearbyen.
Why is it warming so much faster here than other places on the planet?
I think the biggest thing is that we have the ice around here, especially over the ocean.
So let's talk about sea ice. Anna is saying when ocean water is covered by ice and snow, most of the sun's rays bounce back into the atmosphere. That shields the water below from the heat of the sun. But in a warmer Arctic, ice and snow are melting. Now the sun can hit open water and heat it up. As the warmth spreads, it helps melt more snow and ice. It's a loop that just keeps going. And it's the main reason why the Arctic is warming 3 to 4 times faster than the rest of the world.
So if we start this sort of feedback process, it goes really quickly.
So if it's warmer here at the pole, how does that affect me in Los Angeles or in Miami or something like that?
The Arctic basically works as a refrigerator or the freezer box for the rest of the world. So we want it to be cold at the poles and we want it to be warm at the equator. And if you don't have that, you won't have the same type of weather patterns.
Most of our weather in the US is dictated by something called the jet stream. Basically, it's fast-moving winds that travel horizontally high in the atmosphere. The jet stream is most stable when there's big differences in temperature between cold air and warm air. As the Arctic warms and the temperature difference shrinks, the jet stream can get wobbly and slow down. Emerging research suggests that may lead to slower weather patterns that stick around longer, potentially leading to more persistent cold and hot weather, even dry and wet weather.
But if that balance is starting to change, then of course everything else will start to change as well. And we'll get a completely new type of normal, if you put it like that. And that's probably something the world isn't ready for.
It's interesting to hear her talk about the Arctic as the icebox of the planet and how you have the balance of the cold and the warm is what keeps our climate normal and stable.
So it turns out this is a pretty dirty town in the sense that there's just dirt everywhere. Partially it's the time of the year. It's been raining and so it's created a lot of mud. I guess historically they've also had coal dust in this town as it's been taken from the mines and through the community. And so the tradition is that you take your shoes off when you come inside so that you don't foul up the inside. So everywhere you have to go, you got to take your shoes off. And it's kind of a nice tradition, actually, I think. Keep your outside shoes outside. You keep a pair of inside shoes inside, and you change whenever you come in. It's kind of cozy.
When you burn coal, it warms the planet. And for most of the last 100 years, Svalbard has been a coal mining economy, contributing to the very problem it now faces. But not for much longer. Svalbard's last coal mine is closing by order of the Norwegian government. And the people here have ambitious plans to transition to renewable energy while helping 1,500 other Arctic communities do that too, including in Alaska.
Most of them are getting their energy from fossil fuels these days, so we have a large potential.
Heidi Teresa Ose is the CEO of the local mining company leading that transition away from coal. We met in one of the company's old mines.
Your job is to take this company in a new direction, huh?
Yeah, it is. It is a huge challenge, right? To try and transform the energy production in the whole Arctic from fossil to renewable.
Sounds like a great idea, but Heidi's telling me the reliability of solar and wind power in the Arctic is still an unknown.
We don't have a lot of experience of how it can handle the rough climate and weather conditions that we have up here. So we have a job to verify the technology in the Arctic climate.
In an even more remote part of Svalbard is the northernmost solar park in the world. It's getting great results in summer when the sun shines 24 hours a day, but surprisingly also in spring. It turns out solar panels can capture light from the sun and light that reflects off the snow. And when there's too much power, it can be stored for several hours in industrial batteries like these. The first major test for the idea will be in Longyearbyen. At a celebration in October, the world's northernmost coal power plant switched to diesel fuel, which is cleaner, but the intention is to add in renewable energy as those technologies are proven reliable in the Arctic.
Why is this company even doing this? Why are you doing this?
We really want to contribute in a sustainable way now. We have been producing coal, and at the time and historically, that has been right, but now there's a shift. And if we can, and we think we can, contribute now in a sustainable way, that's what we want to do.
The idea that they're transitioning away from what gave them some prosperity to something new in terms of energy, that's a complicated problem.
Hi, how are you? I'm fine, yeah, because you're going to get covered in mud today.
Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're meeting up now with Dr. Andy Hodson, a glaciologist at the University Center in Svalbard.
No, it would be a bit muddy because I don't think it's frozen enough to get rid of the mud.
Yeah. Does that make it more exciting or less exciting?
It makes it muddy. That's about all I can say.
But first,
it's toasty in here.
Gotta put on a thick Arctic survival suit.
How's it feel? Like living inside of an oven.
The disappearance of Svalbard's glaciers is creating another problem, the release of methane from deep underground. It's a potent greenhouse gas. And that's what Andy is taking me to see.
Got some beluga whales.
So if we just carry on along the beach, we come to the first site that is this sort of point source of methane. Lots of gas escaping directly to the atmosphere.
Just a little housekeeping.
Yeah.
If you say methane, can I still say methane?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to have tomato with my lunch.
I'll have a tomato. Let's do it.
Andy and I are hiking to a spot where you can see the gas escaping. In the last few days, it's been raining a lot around here.
This is muddy. This is going to be muddy. Right. There's an unprecedented amount of water here because of the rain, and that's all coming back at us as shallow groundwater. This bit I'm not so sure about. Oh, that is muddy. This didn't work out exactly like I thought it might. He did say it was going to be muddy. I mean, did he not say that?
Andy's telling me permafrost has the ability to lock massive amounts of ancient methane gas underground. But there's no permafrost under a glacier. So as a glacier retreats, the methane can rapidly escape.
The glacial retreat is the big driver of gas escape here in this central part of Svalbard.
The gas is carried to the surface by water coming up through small underground springs like this. The bubbles are methane gas. Here's the one Andy and I came to see. He and his student Lucas are measuring how fast the gas is flowing.
Sometimes science is like really fancy, expensive equipment, and this is not that case.
So we're now going to just drag the funnel until it's sitting over the gas supply, where the bubbles are coming up on the lake there. And that'll get a measurement.
They've got this funnel that is sort of turned upside down that collects gas. And so Lucas is just pulling the air out of that little cone so that there's no air in it at all. So that they know if they're getting something in there, what they're getting is the gas from the lake.
We now start the clock and then wait for the funnel to rise. Yeah, this gas is the only thing that will bring it back up to the surface. And that is a bubble trap.
Looks like it's working, despite it looking like it came out of my kitchen.
What's escaping is quite modest, but what's down there is quite vast.
During their research, Andy and his team checked 123 springs in Svalbard and found methane in all but one of them. Now that they've captured the methane, in one hand Andy has a lighter, in the other a syringe with the methane inside.
I'm going to push the gas towards you and set fire to it.
Perfect. What could go wrong?
Whoa! So why does this matter? Well, these are the major sources of methane. The two big ones are the production of energy, like oil and gas, and agriculture, especially livestock. Among the top 10 methane-emitting countries in the world, 6 of them have agreed to reduce their emissions by 30%, including the US. But Andy says the emissions he's studying from melting glaciers, they complicate the picture.
If we have sort of a global budget for methane and how much is being released and how much needs to be managed, is this unaccounted for methane?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this needs to turn up in our budgeting so we can argue where else how much we need to vigorously, or whatever, decrease our emissions elsewhere, our manageable emissions.
Yeah, because these emissions, we're not stopping these emissions.
These are hard to deal with. Yeah. If there's a huge natural rush of methane about to come, then that will change our planning for methane management. So
globally.
Yeah, globally, but it matters if we're going to commit to responsible methane management.
I will say that you provided us with quite an adventure today.
A mud bath.
Several adventures.
Yeah. That mud's good for your skin.
These are dumb American questions, but why should...
Never used that phrase myself.
Why should people in the United States care about what's happening in Svalbard with the glaciers and the methane?
Or the folk in the States need to know that we have a good sort of, as you said earlier, canary in the coal mine type environment here. The message is that there's a reason that most of the international research environment is here doing this, is because these early warning signs are critically important to understanding changes that are definitely happening.
Have you ever stopped to think about how significant that amount of warming has been in your own lifespan?
When you live here and you see the pace of the change, it just keeps telling you, we're probably too late. But of course, that's because I live here, so it's hard for me to...
It's in your face right
It's
here.
in my face.
Living here or working here gives you a greater sense of urgency?
Yeah, that's a very, that's an elegant way of
Why, thank you.
saying what I should have said. Yeah, the sense of urgency is something that's I struggle with as a consequence of being here. Yeah.
So we are at the Svalbard Brewery, the northernmost brewery in the world.
The beer in Svalbard is unique because it's brewed with 16% glacier water.
There's a lot of minerals in it that you can't find anywhere else, and that gives a special taste. Yep.
Can you describe the taste?
I will let you try one. Yeah. My favorite is the stout.
Mm-hmm.
Are you into dark beer?
I am.
Yeah. Yeah, if you smell it, you can feel maybe a smell of coffee.
Little chocolate,
right?
little coffee.
Chocolate, yeah. And if you taste it.
That's quite delicious. Yes. That's really good too.
Yeah.
You guys make good beer.
While I do the hard work, Tizian is talking about their novel practice of giving used grains a second life.
What we started to do a few years ago is we dry that stuff, since up here at the North Pole it doesn't rot. So we dry it and we burn it and supply the brewery with hot water to keep it as sustainable as possible, because otherwise we would need to send it back to the mainland where they can process it, and that's just a stupid idea.
And hot water is a big deal around here. It's how they heat all their buildings.
It's important for us to do our best and try to come up with new things that could be good for the community and for the island.
It's very bitter in these concentrations.
And as he's adding the hops to his brew, somebody's got a brilliant idea.
Yeah, you should taste it.
Let's get David to taste it.
Yeah.
He said the hop by itself is like really good.
You're ready to come in.
I've been betrayed by my own photographer and a jolly bearded brewmaster.
Oh, yes. It was his idea.
How is it?
It's dry. It's so the driest thing that's ever been in my mouth.
This is a book about how I personally experience climate change.
Adapt. That's what the people who live here do, like Lena, the local newspaper editor. But they know danger still exists.
In the face of all this, should I stay here with my family? My conclusion is that Svalbard is warming. We will see a lot of changes. We will have more landslide and avalanche danger now, first, until there won't be that much snow anymore. And then I decided kind of that, I think it's not that much safer to go other places. We had like the fires in Europe, we have droughts, we have floods. So I'm not that afraid to stay or worried to stay here, but I'm worried about the full picture, what's happening to the world. Yeah.
In the book, even the title, "My World is Melting," is a sadness to those words, is there not?
It is a sadness to those words, and to actually maybe take it in, because I think we put up some kind of filter in our daily life, not taking in what's really happening to the nature and the world. So yeah, taking off that filter is going into some kind of sorrow, I think.
Are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future?
I think I have to be optimistic to think that it's possible to make a change and possible to find good solutions. I think I have to be positive to kind of go on, but I'm worried.
It might seem like a faraway place with faraway problems, but the way we live our modern lives is the reason Svalbard is melting. Plus, what happens here has real tangible effects on us. It turns out, Svalbard is closer than we think.